On this episode of the Girl Talk podcast,
the best way to learn something is to teach somebody else. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that comes into play with wisdom too, that you will have more wisdom the more you share your experiences with other people.
Hello there. You're listening to the Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
My name is Kelly.
My name is Tricia.
And we're glad you're here today because we're going to be talking about wisdom. So if you're wise, stick around because you probably could teach us a thing or two.
We need you.
Yes, we do.
And if you're not wise, stick around because maybe you need something.
So wisdom. What is wisdom? What comes to mind when somebody says wisdom?
An old person.
Yeah.
A very experienced person who can help you make really good decisions.
Okay.
And
what is the
knows
basis?
the right thing.
What is the basis of wisdom? Knows the right thing? What's the basis of wisdom?
I think it is. It seems to me, just from this first scratching of it, is that it is having been there, traveled the road, life experience. I learned this through my own path, which I love that more than just, someone told it to me or I read it in a book or something like that.
Yes.
I want to be in the ears of someone who has walked the path.
So is there a piece of character in the wisdom equation, would you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're able to make really sound decisions. Yeah. So they probably also they're very thoughtful. Mm-hmm. They're not impulsive. Mm-hmm. I don't think wisdom comes from being super impulsive and overly emotional. I think it's...
So I'll never be wise.
It's not true. It's not true at all. Yeah. You're very wise.
Yeah. So,
but I think it comes from... it comes from that thinking, that process of pausing and thinking and, seeking advice from other people and advice from your own experiences and such. So, I think as far as character goes, it's a thinker,
contemplative. Not
Yeah.
rushing. I do that. That is a sense that I have is wisdom is the opposite of rushing, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have someone in your life that you would say, if you needed wisdom, you could go to that person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Multiple people.
A few. I have someone that I would go to for certain things and someone else I would go to for certain other things.
Right.
But yes.
Yeah. So all of us are mamas. Mm-hmm. And so finding when we're looking for wisdom about parenting, because Lord knows I need that. Finding someone who has been there, done that, walked that path, especially to a parent of a boy, it can give me lots of great wisdom.
Yeah.
Somebody who has, who has the scars from that experience. Can share those stories with me. But I'm not going to ask that same person for wisdom when it comes to my job related items. I'm going to find somebody who's been wise in some sort of thing that's relevant, maybe not exactly the same job, but something that's
like a business kind
that
of
they have
oriented.
They have that kind of level of experience of something. Wisdom when it comes to how to, bake bread. I'm going to go to a baker.
Yeah.
That kind
not
of stuff.
to us, Carol.
She's not coming
to
you.
us.
Nope.
Not one bit.
Nope.
Why is it important to have someone that you can turn to that you believe is wise?
We don't know
everything,
it all. Right? We haven't had those experiences yet. We're going through them right now. And it'll be important for us to pass along our wisdom that we've gleaned to other people, but we don't have it yet because we haven't been through that experience.
Yeah. I think that's true. And I think that when we talk about wisdom, you automatically, you said this in the beginning, you think of an age.
Mm-hmm, sure.
But that's not always true. Sometimes because of their experiences, very young people can have wisdom.
We say they're wise beyond their years.
Wise beyond their years, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you become a person of wisdom?
I think it's at least partly self-reflection, because if you go through experiences without ever stopping, reflecting, and learning, then it's the same as not really having gone through that experience. In order to become wise, when you go through something, you have to acknowledge it, you have to reflect on it, and you have to learn from it.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think, I was just thinking about the way they talk about the way to learn something, that the best way to learn something is to teach somebody else. And I think a lot of that comes into play with wisdom too, that you will have more wisdom the more you share your experiences with other people. Because not only are you doing that self-reflection, you're also reflecting with somebody else. And so I think that's an extra part of it, is that with the wisdom comes the responsibility to share that wisdom with others. And then once you do, you have an extra helping of wisdom.
Well, but I think that's also like healing.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think you've come almost full circle with some healing when you're able to help someone else. And I think wisdom and healing can be side by side.
Yeah.
Because you go through something and the part of the reflection is healing from it and learning from it. And then I think the next step is then helping someone else with it.
Do you think there's a piece of accountability in wisdom?
Explain what you mean.
When you think of the wise person, do they not only give you wisdom, but then hold you accountable for the decision that you make?
They hold you accountable? The wise person?
Yes.
I don't know that I necessarily think that has to be part of the equation, because I feel like you can have and share wisdom without necessarily even circling back to somebody. Because I do think that puts a lot of pressure on somebody to circle back. It also puts a lot of pressure on the person who's gotten the advice to go back to that person and, close that loop. And I don't necessarily think you have to have that accountability, but I do think those healthy discussions will, the more discussions you have, with that person, the more things you can uncover that require extra doses of wisdom.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think that's wonderful if you can have that closed loop and you can have that person circle back. I think that's great. But I also think that that you don't have to have a relationship with that person. We can get wisdom from someone we don't know.
Yeah, true.
Maybe it's a podcast or a book or something that we've heard about this person, and so they'll never be able to check back with us, but we can still learn from them if we're open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful to have accountability from someone.
Yeah. So how would you, if we were giving a how-to on how to become wise, how do you become someone who other people turn to?
Pray for wisdom. I think, the Bible says that over and over and over and over and over again, that one of the things that we can do is learn from our spiritual fathers and pray for wisdom like they did, like Solomon did, especially. But just pray for discernment, and pray for it. And then share your experiences with other people and do a lot of that reflection, that self-reflection and that external reflection.
Yeah.
I was thinking do the work right along with that. And I go back to that verse, seek wisdom as if for silver. And boy, you have never seen me tear through my house until I'm late and I can't find my keys. I am looking everywhere with passion. It's like I need to be seeking God's wisdom as much as I need to be seeking my keys in that moment. Looking for it as if for silver, prioritizing wisdom. I reading Proverbs is really helpful to understand wisdom, I think, and how they personalize wisdom as if it's a person that you're seeking to find and speaking to you, and go find wisdom, go be with wisdom. That has helped me understand wisdom more, but I think you got to do the work. You got to seek it out. You got to prioritize it. You got to reflect on what you've gone through.
Yeah. I think seeking wisdom also requires humility.
100%.
We
100%.
have to first say, I don't know all the answers.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. But we do have to have that brokenness where we say, I don't have all the answers. I need to seek out somebody else. And maybe that's the Holy Spirit that you're seeking. Maybe it's another human being, but starting with that humility to say, I don't have it all together. I don't know the answers to this.
Can you develop wisdom without struggle?
I don't know that it would stick. Yeah. I think you can learn a lesson. You can read something. For example, in my life, I've read somebody's story and I've taken a lesson from their story, but I never incorporated it or made it mine until I went through it and understood more about what that story felt like, how to lean on God in the middle of it. So I think it doesn't really stick until you go through it. You can learn on a cognitive level, but I don't know that we learn emotionally until we walk the road.
Yep. I think we learn a lot more from our mistakes than we ever do from our successes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think you do have to have struggle to have true wisdom.
It's true.
Yeah.
What if
but struggles are no fun?
No. What if you are in need of wisdom? How do you go about finding those people?
Find somebody with gray hair. Look around and go, ooh, you look approachable.
Here's one of the things.
Hair.
Here's one of the things that because I think there's a tendency for us to think that once you retire, your ministry's over. I just say we need you to not retire from our circles.
Ministry.
Yeah. Because we need to hear those stories about how you raise kids and how you live through teenagers and, all the things, becoming a woman who loves God and lets her faith lead her. And I have been incredibly blessed by some great people in my life that I have gone to for wisdom. But I'm just wondering if there's a way that you kind of identify those people in your life.
I've just started a new Bible study at church, and there are at least 2 people in the group who are north of 75 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I am super excited about it. There's also some people who are, south of 35.
I like that direction.
They're great. So how cool is that to be, kind of in the middle of these two, have a multi-generational Bible study. I think and those are where some of those best conversations come out, is when you have let down your guard and you are in community with somebody, when you can be in community with people who are of different generations and different experiences and have diversity in your group of people that you're around, then those kind of conversations can come up very naturally. And you can go, oh, you're a safe place for me to say, I'm having this real big struggle with my 15-year-old son, and I think you've been there.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
And I will say this, I lead a multi-generational life group, and there are a lot of things that come out in the form of prayer requests that are open doors for people to say, hey, I've been through that and I see where you are. And so the reason I asked that last question is because I think sometimes that we can only think of looking for wisdom instead of wisdom that we can share with other people. And what I've learned from my life group is that a lot of times when we're sharing and people share things either as a prayer request or, maybe in response to the study that we're doing about a situation in their lives, God always, underline it twice, identifies somebody else in the group who's been through something similar or who has struggled with something similar and kind of connects those hearts. I don't even have to do that.
Yeah. So easy to say too. I've been through something similar to that. If you ever want to get together for coffee and talk, I'd be more than happy to share my experience with you.
May I encourage anybody who's hearing this that has wisdom that wants to share it? I'm not where y'all are. My heart actually hurts about this part of this discussion. I want to cry because I've lost my parents, and that's kind of where I went for a lot of wisdom. Not everything, but I don't have a multi-generational group that I can lean on. And I'm sure somebody is out there like me, like that. But if you have wisdom and you are someone who would take someone on, take someone on.
Yeah.
Come alongside someone. I hurt a lot because I don't feel like I have that older, trusted voice that I can go to.
I imagine that there are some older, trusted voices too that are listening right now that are saying, I would love to, because I don't have, my children are not, they don't seek me for advice. And I desperately would love to reach out to someone. So friends, if you are either in Tricia's place or you are in a mentor's place, find somebody.
That's biblical.
Yes,
too,
it is. Yeah.
For us to, and you don't necessarily have to be older than the other person.
Right. Yeah.
It's true. Age really is insignificant, but if you have wisdom to share, and all of us do, no matter our age, Or if you have need or in need of wisdom, seek somebody out. Find somebody that you feel like you can go to, or that maybe just presents themselves, and start living life together. Start keeping in touch and sharing prayer requests. That's often how some of the greatest relationships are forged, is through those prayer requests and things that we pray for each other through. So find yourself somebody. What else? Anything else you would add to the discussion today about wisdom?
You know, one thing that we didn't say about wisdom is smart. Because wisdom and smart are not necessarily the same thing. And I just think that's so cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to be smart to be wise.
Yeah. It's not intelligence. Wisdom and intelligence is not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's great.
Might be an emotional intelligence.
Sure.
Which is a totally different kind of intelligence. But I think, as we wrap up this discussion, pray for somebody who could impart wisdom into your life, or maybe pray that there is someone that God would bring along that you could help, that you could be wisdom for them or give wisdom to them. Then another thing is, as you make yourself available, pray through that process too. Ask God, go to Proverbs, study about wisdom, seek wisdom, and God will give it to you. He loves to give good gifts to his kids. That's right. Wisdom is a great gift. Yep. So if you'd like to talk about wisdom or have a situation you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at girltalk@thelightfm.org. Hey, one way that you can help out the Girl Talk podcast is to like and subscribe. Even leave a comment about this podcast. That helps other people get to know the Girl Talk podcast. So if you do that, we would be so appreciative, and we'll save you a seat next time we gather around these microphones for the next Girl Talk podcast.